Welcome to the Weekend Edition. I'm Dr. Kingori. Our show tonight falls squarely on Valentine's Day, the Moi Day of love. Just like no one knew what Moi Day was all about, everyone's very busy celebrating love, something they cannot even define. See, love is relative. To Instagrammers, this is love. In football, a loyal Arsenal fan is a symbol of true love. It's been for better or for worse for very many years for them, I hear. As a country, though, we have to agree that this is the best show of true love we've seen yet.
Here was a man really challenged, a victim of Nyeriism.
Shida yangu ilikuwa bila alikuwa amelala nje. Tukana amani kwa. Okay, my dear.
Wanapenda mafruits, cheki vile wamebanana. Yes. Their love is so strong that I feel it inspired this song. Okay, now the highlight of Valentine's Day is getting flowers. And if you have ever wondered why a flower and not any other part of the plant, say the roots, as much as we talk of mapenzi mekita mizizi. Yes, it's because a flower carries the main aspects of a relationship. The main parts of a flower are stigma, style, and stalk. There's a lot of stigma associated in relationship.
Hii manyumba iko maneno mingi. Lakini sasa hata kama umepigwa na bibi yako, wewe unaenda kwa police station kwenda kuripoti. Si unanyamaza unasema bora watu wengi hawajaniona wacha ninyamaze.
No, my take on that's inappropriate stigmatization. There's no shame in being clobbered by your wife. You do realize that could also mean that she can protect you. And anyway, another part of a flower is the style. Most relationships vary in terms of how they work. And now the stalk is just that, the actions of a stalker. It isn't, yes, it's also important to know that the flower is also the reproductive organ of a plant. Now, this being the proverbial month of love, everyone is talking about love, but with very little focus on how it ends. And that makes the subject of our show tonight, breakups. The origin of the phrase, all men are the same. Very inaccurate phrase. Mwala and Bien are enough evidence that not all men are the same. But that's besides the point. Yes. That's besides the point. Yes? But before I even get into it, there are many types of breakups. But there's one I really need to clarify. Cheating is one of the leading causes of breakups. But when it comes to relationships, when they end because of cheating, that's not a breakup. They just left the group. Yes. And now that said, here's one of the ways relationships end.
Wait, what? She broke up with me. She said you're trying to break up. What? Second time what? You're trying to break up with me. You're trying to break up with me. You are trying to break up with me.
Now, the explanation, the scientific explanation as to why the lady is violent and the guy looks relatively calm in that video is because women, breakup affects men and women differently. See, women react very different. For women, a breakup is like a process. They need to discuss it with their breakup committee first. Then they proceed to stop liking you, starting with how you breathe. Yes, you start getting petty arguments like, do you really have to breathe that hard? Lazima upumue kama ng'ombe ndio hewa ingie kwa kifua. No, you can't do that. Babe, ni shida ya esophagus. Kwani sisi wengine hatuna esophagus? No. And then they look for a backup. That's like a deputy boyfriend. And then they initiate the process of moving on while still in the relationship. Some even go to an extent of doing follow-ups on your social media pages just to see how you're faring, monitoring your next relationships. And that's where stalk comes in. But for men, breakup is just that. Maze misioni kitu ikienda mahali tuachane. Simple. And that's what this guy must have done. He caught his lady off guard. And in this case, even a sweet banana cannot help you. And this is the ugly side of relationships. I think ladies just love to slap people, especially when they think you're cheating, just to see if you can turn the other cheek. You know, the side cheek. Anyway, now, come to think of it. If this lady got that dramatic over Mia tuachane, how would she have reacted if this happened to her?
The bride, the wedding bands, the cake, the decor betrayed of the ceremony. A wedding was in the air. The only thing missing was the groom. But hold on fast. The groom was not waiting for his bride at the altar, but had decided on the morning of the wedding that he was not going down that route and was not ready to execute the official commitment.
Henrik, he said he's going to be saved his hair, and up to now he has not turned up.
How evil can a human being be? See, this type of breakup is very cunning. It's not like the guy just woke up and decided to call it quits on his wedding day. This was more like a long-term decision. He must have been looking for an exit. You know, zile relationships za kuwekana hivi. Wewe nimekungoja hivi. Mtu anakutafuta makosa anywhere. Jaribu kusneeze without saying excuse. Ati achoo. It's over. Unfortunately, this probably did not come until the wedding morning. So he called in unfit for the wedding. I know you'd like me to mention the case of Eunice Njeri, but I would like to avoid the temptation because other than just showing up at her wedding without her hat, no one knows what happened. Wedding ilikuwa majuu, but alikuwa ameacha hat Africa. That sounds like our airline's tagline, Eunice Njeri, the heart of Africa. Now, prevention is better than cure. Such surprises can be avoided by looking out for the signs of a breakup even before things get that far. For the ladies, the moment your boyfriend or husband introduces you to his friends as majamaa huyu ndio nilikuwa nawaambia. Ndio mama. If someone forgets your name, you probably need to start looking for an exit. For men, to know the signs to look out for, go read this book. Understanding Women. For me, the leading cause of breakups is getting into a relationships for all the wrong reasons. Number one, getting into a relationship simply because of someone's looks. Case in point, barely a year after their marriage, the Super MC DNG broke the news of dumping his wife on social media, on Instagram to be specific, the official dump site for relationships. Just go look, a lot of dumping going on there. In his post, DNG said, and I quote, "I dumped a really hot chick who had a really dark heart and a shitty personality." In case you're wondering, Shitty is this character on the Real House Helps of Kawangware.
Umeoa? Mi pato ni kijana mdogo. Teacher Shitty. Lakini nikipata siwezi acha. Huku? Unaona msema yote mzuri? Ni Trufena tu nimeona. Hao wengine wote ni wanaume.
Basically, DNG was dating this guy trapped in the body of this beautiful chick. If that's true, I'm with the Super MC on this one. The short-lasting marriages, if you ask me, are the reason why people say marriage is for the strong. However, the greatest enemy of progress in relationships is the general attitudes with which people treat commitment. Maze umesikia kitu imehapenia Jemo maze, ni sad. Ameoa. Actually, that's the general approach Kenyans have to relationships. If you come of age, we start asking when you will get married. When you announce your relationship status, we give you a timeline to break up. When Prezo and his then future ex-girlfriend announced their relationship, people were not even interested in their being in a relationship. Everyone was curious on how they were going to break up. What people didn't have is the exact timeline. Everyone just knew it would be soon.
Yeye ndio nilimvisha pete. Kama mnavyoona ni mrembo. Mrembo ndani na nje.
Are you sorry or not? That is the question.
You know, keep it up, mommy.
Are you sorry or not?
Don't hold your breath. Yeah, drop it.
Just like we thought, we all saw the fulfillment of the prophecy. Yes, they both knew they were not going anywhere with that relationship, but still went as far as getting tattoos of each other. Moral of the story, documenting your failures on your skin permanently is not such a good idea. See, marriage is for the strong. That's why even after all the processes one undergoes to get to the altar, the preacher still gives you one final chance to change your mind. Do you take so-and-so to be your dearly bewedded wife? Dearly beloved wife? That translated means, uko sure Buddha? They do that because marriage is for the strong. Most failed relationships don't even last longer than the couples have dated. Take the case of the Bukusu darling, for example. The couple dated secretly for about 4 years, but when they got married, they didn't even stay together for a year. Maybe that's why many couples opt to staying together. Come we stay. But that was also fun until a bill was proposed to recognize Come we stay as an official marriage if the couple stays together for more than 6 months. That was back in 2012. But since then, Come we stay zinachezeanga hapo 5 months, 29 days. You live just early enough to save money. And any relationship based on the input of more than 2 people is bound to fail. And by more than 2 people, I don't mean mpango wa kandos only. It's actually worse if your relatives have personal goals with your relationship.
Ana na desturi ya Wahindi, msichana Muhindi ndiye analipa mahari. Kwa hivyo nitahitaji Chapatia atafute mahari atuletee hapa.
Tutafuata desturi za Wahindi, watuletee ile mali.
I know this episode makes me sound like a relationship expert, but I'm not. But that doesn't mean that I cannot know that if you want to avoid a breakup, just don't get into a relationship. But if you must, just do it for the right reasons. We'll be right back with Chris Hart, Dr. Chris Hart, to help us break this subject down further. Welcome back to the Weekend Edition. I'm Dr. Kingori. Our subject tonight is breakups, and it's very important because most relationships don't even last as long as this show. Our guest tonight is an expert in that field. He is a doctor just like me, but the good thing about that, how you know he is an expert in this field, he has a heart in his name. Dr. Chris Hart. Thank you. Welcome to the show, sir.
Pleasure.
Thank you. First of all, I know this is a very curious question, personally from me, and I know it represents very many people out there. What's a relationship expert? Because to my understanding, someone who's been in so many relationships that
Well, I'm actually a psychologist, so my real skill is in what's known as social skills. So how people communicate, how they form relationships, all that sort of stuff is what I study.
Before we even get to breakups, the issue of being clobbered by your wife. The other is domestic violence.
Yes.
If you beat your wife, that's domestic violence. This other one of your wife getting a piece of you
hasn't actually got a name, has it?
Yes.
I'll tell you a very interesting thing.
Yes.
Women are just as likely to beat up their husbands as husbands are likely to beat up their wives. And in fact, 3 times as many women will pick up a weapon in a fight in the house than a man will. So actually, it's very much an equal opportunities activity.
So that's the problem. When your wife beats you up is because she got to the weapon before.
Yeah, absolutely. and the real problem, as you obviously know, is that there are lots and lots of organizations who take the side of the wife in such situations.
Yes.
But you imagine the guy going to a police station and trying to report an assault by his wife. It's just not going to work out, is it?
Thank you. And I asked that question curiously because in my research, I stumbled upon some personal information. Turns out your wife holds a black belt in karate.
Yes, that is true. So, of course, I have to behave myself.
That's how you became an expert. You behaved yourself. You know how you're supposed to behave.
She's very good as my wife. She is a second dan black belt, but she's also an expert in self-defense. And we were once set upon by thieves. Well, that didn't last very long, I can tell you.
So you went and sat on a stone? And
no, I just, almost the moment the guy got near us, that was it. It was all over.
And you passed out?
Yeah, it's very nice. No, not me, him.
Have you ever found yourself in a position that you need, you invited her wrath, like...
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
How long
we get on very well. We've been together for over 10 years.
I know people are used to being advised on how to stay together, but the world now has decided to go separate ways. What's your advice on the style to break up? How do you break up in style that you don't get violent? You be professional about it.
Well, if you're talking about very new relationships, there's not much difficulty breaking up. You just don't answer the calls quite so frequently, and before you know it, you're not in a relationship anymore. But if you're talking about been together for months and months, then it's only kind to do it kindly, to put it bluntly. In other words, don't have a terrible row. Just say in a nice way that obviously this is not going to work out. It's my fault. You and I are not getting along together, and it's my fault. So I think it's over. And if you say that, say it out loud, then generally speaking, people are okay with that.
Okay, and we have a debate of who should actually propose, and it's actually men. Men are the ones who are supposed to say, will you marry me?
Yes.
If you take that debate inversely, who's supposed to introduce the breakup?
Okay.
Who's
First of all, you're right. Society expects that the man will propose. His girlfriend expects that he will propose. But it is not him, generally speaking, who makes the decision. It would be a very foolish man who proposed to a girl, not having checked, first of all, that she wanted him to. True?
Yes.
In fact, at every stage in relationships, women make the decisions.
Yeah, that's true.
If I walk into a crowded room and there are lots of pretty girls, which ones do I talk to? I can't talk to them all. If I did, they'd think there was something very weird about me. Instead, I only go to the ones who invite me, and they do that with their body language and so on. And the same thing happens at a proposal. The girl basically says to the man, I want you to propose. And if you don't propose, this relationship's going nowhere. A year or two later, or 10 or 15 years later, when it becomes time to part, it will usually be the woman who makes the decision.
Oh, so basically, the decision to initiate the relationship
is the woman. Yes.
To initiate the... No, okay, Basil, in that case, what body language do you look for to know that this woman wants me?
Well, you think what happens when a guy walks into a place where he's looking for a partner and there are pretty girls in the room. The first thing he does when he walks in is to find a place that he can hang out for a few minutes, get a drink in his hand maybe, and then he just starts looking around, doesn't he?
Identify them.
And he is looking at the pretty girls and he's looking at their eyes. And what he's really looking for is how they react when their eyes meet. Because, for example, you know, if I look across at a girl and she instantly goes like that, it's quite obvious she doesn't really want to talk to me. Oh, you see what I mean? On the other hand, if she looks briefly a little bit embarrassed, looks down a tad, and then just looks back up and smiles, she's actually quite keen I should walk across.
Okay, members of Team Dry Spell, look out. And what do you make of the relationships, of the social media relationships, those that people display everything that they are doing, because most breakups have been attributed to that?
Yeah, I think there's a really important rule about successful relationships, which is that you should actually keep everything to yourselves. It should be confidential. Now, it's one thing to walk down the street with a ring on your finger. It's another thing to be saying on social media, oh, we're doing this, I think this, he's done that, she's done the other. It's going to cause a lot of trouble.
Yes.
So there's no doubt about it that people who display their relationships on the social media make the relationships a lot more fragile.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons why media people in general have a much tougher time than the average guy, because everybody's watching and you're constantly being tempted to say something about your relationship, and often you end up saying things you shouldn't say.
And how do you meet your wife? Yes.
How did I meet my wife?
Yes.
I hate to admit this, but I met her on the internet.
Thank you. That's why he gave that. Now we know. Now we know at least there's hope.
It was a little different though. She wrote me an email as a result of an article I wrote.
Then I think you're safe, because to break up you'll need an email again.
Yes,
that's true. That's strong. And most relationships have different dynamics of how they work. Different people break up over different things. The pettiest breakup I've had, people broke up over intonation. Like the question, utakula, simple, will you eat? So the story was there is a difference between utakula and utakula. People broke up over that. Some people still continue with the relationship even after being cheated on. So do you think there's like a...
most do. Everybody thinks that some form of infidelity is the commonest sort of breakup. It's not. It's far from the commonest.
Okay.
Most couples who've had some form of infidelity, especially if it's the first, they carry on. And a lot of people end up saying that the relationship's improved because for the first time they really start talking about serious things and looking for the real dynamics of the relationship. The commonest reason why people break up is because they've become lonely, because the two are not really paying enough attention to one another.
In your experience, marriage experience, relationship experience, this is off the camera. This is
really?
Your wife will not watch this part. Now, do you ever feel the need to get experimental how men are, regardless of the black belt? Remember, I know.
Yes, the black belt's a real problem. No, I don't actually. I mean, I'm very fortunate with my wife that she and I get along extremely well, and off the camera, everything I could possibly want in a relationship, she's able to provide. And of course, that has to be one of the keys to a successful relationship. Whatever it is you guys want, you need to find someone who's willing to provide that. If two people succeed in doing that, they're going to be very happy together.
But if you really are that straightforward, why does she even need the black belt?
She had the black belt before I met her.
And you got into the relationship knowing that she had
Yes,
the
in
black
fact, I watched her get her first black belt. It was actually hilarious. She got to the point where they end up sparring, and the fight lasted less than 10 seconds. All of a sudden, the guy was flat on his back.
That was a slap.
No, it was a serious attack. And he's never forgiven her, by the way. I don't think they've ever spoken again since. This is a guy 3 times her size that she flattened as part of her grading when she was getting her black belt. She's a dangerous lady.
That was Chris Hart giving you tips on how to break up. I hope you got something. That's it for the weekend edition. See you next week. My name is Dr. Kingori.